Stop blaming the deck. You're not losing.
And trust, like, comment, and share.
You're losing money not because your cards are bad. You're losing because you're playing the same game against completely different players. And that's financial suicide. Think about it. You arrive at the table. There's a guy to your right who folds 90% of his hands, literally waits for aces. To your left, there's another who plays any garbage. 7-2 offsuit. He calls. And you're making exactly the same opens, the same sizings, the same plays against both, as if they were the same person. Here's the truth nobody tells you. There's no your game. There's only reading and adaptation. The guys who make money consistently aren't the ones playing perfect GTO. They're the ones who identify specific weaknesses and destroy them without mercy. In the next 25 minutes, you'll learn to categorize any player who sits in front of you within seconds. And more importantly, you'll know exactly how to exploit them. Tight, loose, aggressive, passive. Style doesn't matter. When you finish this video, you'll look at a table and see money where you used to see only competition. Most players learn poker the wrong way. They watch videos, buy courses, study ranges, and all of it teaches the same thing: how to play correctly, how to make continuation bets, how to defend the big blind, how to balance ranges, and you become a robot. A predictable robot that plays the same strategy against everyone. The problem is that pure GTO only works against other GTO players. But the reality of your table isn't a solver. It's a circus. You have people who never bluff. People who always bluff. People who fold top pair if you look at them wrong. People who call the river with ace high because they had a feeling. And you're trying to play balanced against this? It's like using boxing techniques against a guy who doesn't know rules exist. He's going to hit you with a chair while you're trying the perfect jab. The real edge in modern poker doesn't come from playing theoretically correct. It comes from playing adaptively lethal. GTO is your foundation. It protects you from being exploited. But exploitation is where the real money is. If you don't know the difference between playing correctly and playing profitably, you're literally leaving thousands of dollars on the table every session. And the worst part, you don't even notice. Because technically, you're doing everything right. But right against who? Against an imaginary solver that doesn't exist at your table. Before exploiting, you need to categorize. And the good news is that 95% of players you'll face fit into 4 main profiles. 2 axes, tight versus loose, and passive versus aggressive. The tight-loose axis measures how many hands they play. A tight player plays 15, 20%. Premium only. High pocket pairs, strong Broadway cards. A loose player? 40, 50, sometimes 60%. Literally any suited, any connector, any ace. The passive-aggressive axis measures how they play those hands. A passive player avoids confrontation. Check, call, waits for you to bet. Never takes initiative. An aggressive player? Bet, raise, re-raise. Constant pressure. They want you to fold. When you cross these axes, 4 archetypes emerge. Tight passive, the rock, the N8. That guy who plays 1 hand per hour and when he plays it's just a call. Tight aggressive, the shark, the classic tag. Plays few hands but when he enters it's with aggression. Loose passive, the calling station, the human ATM. Plays everything but never bets. Loose aggressive, the maniac, the lag. plays everything and bets everything. And here's the beautiful insight. Each of these styles has inherent mathematical weaknesses. It's not mystical psychology, it's structure. A tight player who plays 15% of hands can't have a strong hand every time he enters. A loose player who plays 60% has a diluted range by definition. A passive player who never bets is communicating fear. An aggressive player who always bets is over-bluffing by necessity. You just need to know where to press. Tight players bleed money in a specific way. They fold too much. Mathematically impossible to avoid. If you only play 15% of hands, you're folding 85%. That means you're paying blinds, paying antes, abandoning small pots without a fight. And here's your exploitation. You steal from them aggressively, especially in position. You're on the button, there's a nit in the big blind. You open 60% of your hands. Any suited connector, any ace, any king. Because he'll fold 75% of the time without even seeing a flop. Concrete example. You have 9-7 suited in the cutoff. Normally a fold. But you identify a nit on the button and another in the big blind. You open 2.5 big blinds. Both fold. You won 1.5 big blinds without playing poker. Do this 10 times per hour, and that's 15 big blinds straight to your stack. Just in steals. Post-flop is even better because when a tight player finally enters a hand, you know exactly when to respect and when to attack. If he shows aggression, quick fold. Tights don't bluff. But if he shows weakness, check, long pause, small bet. You attack with everything, continuation bet, double barrel, triple barrel. He'll fold pocket jacks on the turn because he doesn't trust them against your aggressive story. And here's the fine adjustment that separates amateur from professional. Against extreme tights, you reduce bet size. Instead of betting 75% of the pot, bet 35, 40. You get the same fold equity spending fewer chips. Brutal efficiency. Because a tight player isn't calculating pot odds correctly. He's thinking, he must have something. And folds. Your bluff cost dropped by half, but your success frequency remains the same. Ours loose players are the symmetric opposite. They play everything, and this creates an inevitable mathematical vulnerability, diluted range. When you play 50% of hands, you simply can't have strong hands frequently enough. It's impossible. So against loose players, you stop bluffing. Completely. Why? Because they don't fold. You can make the most perfect bluff of your life, impeccable story, optimal sizing, and they'll call with bottom pair because they felt you were bluffing. And sometimes they're right. But it doesn't matter. Your strategy changes radically. Aggressive value betting. You have top pair, bet big. You have two pair, bet even bigger. You have a set, bet literally everything they'll accept to pay. And they'll pay. They always pay. Real example that happens every session. You have ace-king on the button. Flop comes ace-7-3 rainbow. Loose player in the big blind checks. You bet 75% of the pot. He calls. Turn is a 9. He checks again. You bet 75 again. He calls again. River is a deuce. He checks a third time. You bet 80%. He calls with ace-5. Top pair with horrible kicker. Why? Because he's loose. He saw an ace on the flop and decided he'll never fold. You just extracted 3 complete streets of value from a hand that any tight player would have folded on the turn. And the fine adjustment here is sizing. Against calling stations, you increase bet sizing on all streets. If you normally bet 60% of the pot with the nuts, against them you bet 100, 120. They'll pay anyway. The difference is that now you're extracting 30, 40% more value from the same hand. Per session, that's dozens of extra big blinds. Aggressive players live on psychological pressure. Bet, raise, re-raise. They want you to feel fear, want you to think, damn, he must have a strong hand. And most players fold. But here's the beautiful mathematics. Aggressive players have to overbluff. It's not a choice. It's structural necessity. If you're betting with a wide range, you can't have the nuts every time. So they're bluffing 40, 50% of the times they show aggression. And your exploitation is simple but requires courage. You set traps, brutal slow play, devastating check raise, check call multiple streets. You let them hang themselves with their own aggression. When you have a strong hand against an aggressive player, don't show strength. Show weakness. Let them bet for you. Example that will change how you play. You have queens in the big blind. Known aggressive player opens in the cutoff. Normally you'd 3-bet. But against an aggressive player, you just call. You're setting a trap. Flop comes queen 8-3. Top set, you check. He bets. You just call. Don't raise. Turn is a 4. You check again. He bets bigger. You call again. River is a deuce. Completely brick board. You check a third time. He looks at the situation and thinks, this guy has nothing. He would have raised if he had something. And he shoves. You snap call. He turns over ace-king. 0 pair. Pure air. He bet 3 complete streets with absolutely nothing because you let him believe you were weak. This is elite-level exploitation. And the fine adjustment. You learn to call down lighter against aggressive players. That hand you'd normally fold on the river against a normal player. Against a maniac. It's a call. Ace high? Might be good. King high sometimes. Because they're bluffing half the time. If you fold all bluff catchers, you're being exploited back. Passive players are fascinating because their weakness isn't in range, it's in execution. They can have decent hands, even strong hands, but they have chronic fear of betting, fear of losing, fear of being bluffed, fear of overcommitting. And that fear is literally money in your account. Against passive players, you bet everything. Not an exaggeration. You have a draw? Bet. You have ace high? Bet. You have complete air? Bet. You have the nuts? Bet even more. Why? Because passive players will never test you with a raise. They'll fold or call, never put pressure back. And when they finally bet, you fold immediately, without thinking. Because passive players don't bluff. When they show aggression, believe them. They have a monster hand. Example that illustrates perfectly. Passive player in the small blind. You in the big blind with 7-6 suited. He limps, you check. Flop king 9-4 with 2 of your suit. He checks, you bet half the pot. He folds king 5. Top pair with bad kicker. Why? Because he saw a king on the board, saw your bet, and thought he must have better. You literally had nothing. Gut shot and backdoor flush draw. But the turn comes a 9. You bet again. He folds again. River comes an ace. You bet a third time, and now he bets into you. For the first time in the hand, he shows aggression. You fold instantly, without hesitation, because when a passive player bets, he has trips or better, always. And the devastating fine adjustment against passive players, you use position as a lethal weapon. Whenever they check to you, you bet. Size doesn't even matter that much. Small, medium, large. The fold equity is absurd because they interpret any bet as strength. Now the complex reality that separates median players from elite. Nobody is 100% one style. People are fluid. They change, adapt, go on tilt, get tired, gain confidence, lose confidence, and you need to identify these changes in real time during the session. A tight player who just lost 3 all-ins in a row. He might turn loose aggressive temporarily, wants to recover, playing emotional. A loose player who won a giant pot might tighten completely because he doesn't want to lose his new stack, now has something to protect. A passive player who got bluffed twice and you showed might start making uncontrolled hero calls. An aggressive player who lost several big pots bluffing might become tight and passive because he lost confidence. The real skill isn't memorizing against tight do X. It's constant observation and dynamic adjustment. You need to keep asking yourself mentally every 20 minutes, is he still playing the same way he was half an hour ago? What changed? Style change indicators. Different decision speed. If before he thought 3 seconds for each action and now acts instantly, something changed. Different bet sizing. If he always bet half pot and now bets full pot, he changed strategy or mental state. Body language lev. Tension, relaxation, visible frustration. Timing tells online. If he always used time bank and now acts fast, different mental state. Your true edge doesn't come from having a fixed strategy against each style. It comes from being a cognitive chameleon, adapting faster than they can adapt to you. That's mastery. You won't remember all of this, and that's okay. So I'll give you an ultra-simple mental framework you can apply today. 3 steps only. Step 1. First 15 minutes at the table. You just observe and categorize. Don't try to make fancy plays, just collect data. Who plays many hands? Who plays few? Who bets a lot? Who bets little? You mentally label each player. This guy is tight passive. This one is loose aggressive. This one is tight aggressive. Step 2. For each category, one simple rule. Against tight, steal more, bluff more, reduce sizings. Against loose, value bet more, bluff less, increase sizings. Against aggressive, set traps, call down lighter, show weakness with strength. Against passive, bet everything, fold when they bet, use brutal position. Step 3. Every 30 minutes you reassess. Did someone change behavior? Won a big pot? Lost several in a row? Adjust category. That's it. 3 steps. Observe, categorize, adjust. If you do just this, you'll already be ahead of 80% of the players at your table, because they're not paying attention. They're playing cards. You're playing people. And here's a call to action. Like this video now if it's making sense. And comment what type of player you face most at your tables. Tight, loose, aggressive, passive, and how you currently deal with them. I want to know. Poker isn't about having better cards. It never was. It's about making better decisions. And better decisions come from superior information. When you learn to read player styles, you're not just improving at poker. You're developing a skill that completely transcends the game. You're learning to read people, identify behavioral patterns, exploit systematic weaknesses. This is a life skill. Think about it. Every human interaction is reading. Salary negotiation? You're identifying if the recruiter is tight with offers or loose, willing to pay more. Argument with your partner? You notice if they're being aggressive, confrontational, or passive, avoiding conflict. Even choosing a line at the supermarket is behavioral reading of who'll be faster. Poker is the perfect laboratory to train this. Because there's immediate feedback. You make a read, make a decision, see the result. And the better you get at adapting to opponents at the table, the better you get at adapting to people in any context. Leadership, sales, relationships, everything is reading and adaptation. So don't think of this just as learning poker. Think of it as learning to navigate human beings. And that skill is priceless. If this video changed how you think about poker, subscribe to the channel now. Share with whoever you want to see improving. Because this is just the beginning. There's much more coming. You no longer play against cards. You play against patterns. And patterns are always breakable.